G'day watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel, broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have a piece from none other than Nivada Grenchen. Now I wasn't very familiar with this brand, but look, they are nearly 100 years old, established 1926, and the legendary original 1000 meter rated Depthmaster was released in 1965 and seems to be a pretty popular and enduring watch, and I've certainly seen this copied by Chinese companies. So, you know, they do have some history behind them. They do have some beautiful pieces in the collection. Take a look at their website if you will. So today's box, there's actually a bit of a, I don't know if you can appreciate that, felt bottom. This is faux leather. But despite that, it actually spins not bad. That's probably about 3.5 or 4 out of 5 here. So there is a sleeve that goes on top, and they've got some nice vintage play to their packaging. Actually, I don't know if that's gonna come through, but you can read about that and read more on their website about their history. And now this is pretty tight. I'm gonna kind of wiggle that top off, and even in here, there's a bit of history in there. It says that probably the world's most waterproof watch back at that time. I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but that's an interesting bit of historical print they got in there. And here's the watch in here. Just gonna take it off the cushion. A bit of extra links there and a tag that I've left in the watch box there. Okay, so showing you guys the watch in more detail here. This is none other than the Nivada Grenchen Depthmaster, nicknamed affectionately the Pacman, and this is the white and the sea Pacman here. The model number of this specific watch, 14102A, a few different variations, but I reckon if you're going to get one of their watches, the Pacman has to be one of their most classic ones. I certainly wouldn't get the modern indice, modern numeral version. This has to be the first one that I get. So the retail on this, they start from 950 USD. With this particular bracelet, it actually adds $200, so 1150 USD. I suspect that there's some sales, from time to time, maybe a sign-up bonus here, but that is the full MSRP on this particular watch. Right, guys, as usual, let's talk about the movement first. So in here, actually it's a Soprod. I'm not sure whether I've covered a Soprod before, but the P024 is an ETA 2824-2 base movement, right? The one of the most popular workhorses in all of Swiss watchmaking today. So, high beat, as you can see there. Unsure whether it's 25 or 26 jewels. On the website it says 26, but then they also have a photo of a rotor showing 25, so it's going to be one of those numbers there. 38-hour reserve. In this case, it actually pleasingly is a no-date version. There is no ghost date position on this no-date watch. It does hack and it does wind manually as per the original 2824 base there. I'm not sure what the rated accuracy is. They don't actually state on the website, I don't think, how much they are supposed to regulate this to, but this is running a little bit fast, so plus 20 seconds per day on the wrist that I have been using this watch for about the last 2 weeks straight. Okay, moving on to the case here. So what we have here is a 39mm case. So, you can see it bulges out the side there. So it's 39mm width here. The bezel itself, if you were just to measure the bezel, is 37mm, slightly smaller than the case. Thickness is a pleasing 13mm only. For a 1000 meter rated watch, 13mm is pretty cool. 20mm lug width, and these lugs are drilled, which is good. I always like the addition of a drilled feature in a lug. Lug to lug distance is also a pleasing 47mm, so it's definitely a lot too big for most people, most men that I know. Overall weight on the bracelet as well is not too heavy, right? With the few links I removed, this is 138 grams. Of course, if you're going to change this to a strap of some form, it's going to be much lighter. I imagine around 100-gram mark, or maybe 110-ish, that would make it. Okay, finishing wise, we have circular brushing on the bezel. You can clearly see there's circular brushing there, and the top of the case as well. This nicely done cushion case, I have to say, and the lugs that kind of stick out. Kind of reminds me a bit of a Panerai. It's got a cushion case like a radio mirror, but these are not wire lugs. These are solid lugs that stick out there. It's got polished, nicely high polish on the side there. You can see that helium escape valve, and that bulge and curvature is pretty nice. I really like the feel of it. It's the way that this watch feels at the top, you expect it to be a slab side, but they've pleasingly done a curve there, which is a really nice bonus, something they didn't have to do, but really feels nice on the hand there. The polish goes down to the bottom of the lugs as well, and then of course you have that circular brush, solid case back there, solid screw down case back. It's got a screw down polished sign crown, and as I stated, the watch is rated at 100 atmospheres. They say 100 ATM at the back there, which is 1,000 meters. Interestingly, I don't think 100 ATM does them favors. It's probably more of a standout if they put 1,000 and just put 1,000 meters for the water rating. It kind of jumps out more. 100 ATM to me, I mistook it for 100 meters at first, actually. Okay, moving on to the dial. Right, which is really cool as well. This is an iconic Art Deco style dial. It's matte black and it's got no applied elements here. This is fully printed details on this watch dial here. You can see the brand name. You can see a Depthmaster down the 6 o'clock position there. All the indices are printed on and of course are filled with super luminova, and the chapter ring around the periphery is also printed here. The hands are polished sword, and I guess you might call that a bird head. Some people would call that a kind of a Mercedes-like hand, but it doesn't have the Mercedes on there. It's just a bird head hand, I think. Red color for the seconds hand here, and it's got white super luminova on all the usual spots, and a lume shot right here, of course, for you guys to appreciate how it might look like in the dark for you. Right. Moving on then, around the dial is a 120 click unidirectional dive style bezel. It's got black markings. I think the inside of the box said indelible markings. I guess they would have used some sort of treatment to make sure it doesn't come off. It is actually, there is a depression, a relief into the actual steel here. So it's not actually printed straight on. There are actually indentations for all these markings here, 15 minute scale on the initial part of this bezel. Let's hear it now. 10 clicks there, right? 120 click unidirectional, hardly any back play at all. Pretty good quality, I have to say. Put it on the 12 o'clock position now for you guys who, kind of like that kind of positioning there, rather than me leaving it at some random thing to show some immersion therapy for the love of OCD people. Okay, on top of the dial here, domed sapphire crystal, right? It's lightly domed. It's got some AR on it, pretty good. It's got a raised edge on it. That's really what it is. Very nice, solid. Really does feel like this will last 1,000 meters immersion here. Moving on to the bracelet then. All right, you can see this is a beads of rice. Very obviously a beads of rice, right? Typical polished beads. Long brushing on the side pieces there. It's got polish on the sides. This has, of course, it's got solid end links. The screws, though, I have to say, I'm not sure if you can appreciate the screws there. The screws are tiny. These are not push pins. They are screws. You have to get actually a very small head screwdriver. I wish they would have done a bigger head screw. I think that would have felt better here. The bracelet does taper to 18 millimeters, and then it's got this pressed metal bit here with a friction release cast. There's no push button. It does have a 4-point micro adjustment that you can see there. Right, that's the entire description of the watch. Let's snap it on the wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. And there we go, the Nivada Grenchen Depthmaster Pacman on my 17 centimeter wrist. And I have to say, this really will suit most people. It's only 39 millimeter width, 37 millimeter bezel. It's only 13 millimeters tall. And the lug to lug, remind you, is 47 millimeters, and that's how it looks like. Really good, really good. I really like the look of this watch. Okay, let's move on then. What have I enjoyed about this watch? Look, I reckon this is an excellent vintage style Swiss-made diver with lots to love. There's lots to like about here. 39 millimeter size is nice, right? I like that they've gone vintage. Great case design, especially that, you know, that cushion side there with the strong lugs coming out of it. I've talked about this before, but it really does feel quite nice on hand, that high polish there. You know, the finishing is high quality, no complaints about there, and really love the over engineering on the 1,000 meters, which, you know, almost none of us will need. None of the viewers of this channel, none of us wearing watches of this type anyway. 28-24 base movement, you know, nice feel there. You know, they've given the no date on this no date watch. Good on them for doing that, and there's no ghost date. And of course, not least of all, that awesome iconic dial. Overall, I reckon this is a versatile go anywhere piece. I've worn this with shirt and tie. It's no problem doing that, especially with you know, if you're going to change that to leather, for example, for more formal occasions. You know, thanks to the small size, it is actually very versatile, and the drilled lugs suits this strap monster down to a T. Very easy to change it out to anything else that you want to wear this with. What are the weaknesses? Well, you know, I will say it does feel like the budget ran out a bit on the bracelet. They've charged $200 more to go to bracelet instead of strap. But this doesn't feel fantastic. You know, the screws need to be bigger. You know, this pressed metal doesn't feel premium by any means, and there's no push button on the release here. Does feel like they ran out a bit of money on the bracelet, so they had to cut it somewhere. It really should be better for the price, I reckon. This example, not the most well-regulated watch, right? Plus 20 seconds per day. I'm not sure what they usually do, how they usually run their watches, but this is a little bit on the fast side, and I probably will open it and regulate it better myself. From $950, you know, with a strap version, that may be a push for some, right? You can definitely get, you know, Swatch brand watches, you know, like Tissot, you know, pushing towards Longines pieces, you know, for 950 USD. Is this something you would consider? Well, they do have history. They're nearly 100 years old, so they are no slouch. Let me know what you think about the brand. Is this something that you personally will consider? So there you go, guys. My review of the Nivada Grenchen Depthmaster White Pacman. Thank you again for sticking with me, and I'll catch you guys next time.